and welcome to the premises of the EU delegations in Guyana. It's my, I would say, historical honor to have all of you here and some of you special guests here. I will be very short now because I will be speaking later. Thank you, Mike. Came through. Let me say thank you very much to the two gentlemen, which I find as key pushes, engines and leaders of Caribbean integration. I think I don't have to go more to names, etc. Let's welcome us all and let's give the word to the chairperson of this ceremony. I will be back to you shortly. Thank you very much. Please.
Morning, everyone. His Excellency, Mr. Donald Ramutar, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. His Honorable Dr. Leslie Ramsamy, Minister of Agriculture, my boss. His Excellency, Ambassador Robert Kopeski, Ambassador and Head of Delegation of the European Union. His Excellency, Ambassador Erwin Larocque, Secretary General of the Caribbean Community. Mr. Maurice Wilson, representative of the Caribbean Agriculture Research and Development Institute. Dr. Lystra Fletcher Paul, country rep of the Food and Agriculture Organization. Mr. Wilmot Garnett, representative of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. Members of the media, members of staff of the European Union, members of staff of ICA, members of staff of CARICOM, members of staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, and of course I cannot forget my good friend Mr. Greg Rollins, EcoRep, to start the ball rolling. Mr. Kopeski has a very impressive resume, and one of the more important and remarkable things is that he can actually speak 10 languages, one of which is an African dialect. All of you might be aware that I have difficulty in speaking one. I think, even though it's not important, I must mention the languages here. There's Czech, Slovak, English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, Italian, Uzbek, Kimbundu. Is that correct? In another life, I'll probably be able to speak to. He has a very impressive resume, having worked as a diplomat. And the paper that I have stretches as far back as 1982. I'm certain that he will do justice to his bid, so I'll just allow him to take it from now. Thank you.
Cut it short or to skip it at all, but I came only late in the night and I didn't have the opportunity to say the same, and I didn't know that it was orchestrated this way. Anyway, we are over that, and again, let me welcome you all, Excellencies, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, members of the head table, and all gathered here, being in media, being in staff of our delegation, of CARICOM, and everybody. This is institutionally historical moment because I don't think we could find in our quite voluminous archives a ceremony, an event when the Secretary General of CARICOM and the President of the beautiful host country of many waters would be assisting to such a ceremony. And they've been numbered throughout the days, throughout the years, believe me. I think that this represents growing trust, mutual one, and growing partnership not in between, amongst all of us in the Caribbean, represented here by Mr. Secretary General and the host country of Guyana. People might say that we are withdrawing a little bit, that it was Brazil who took over England as the sixth world economy, that it is not the Pope who is from Europe anymore and stuff like that, but we are still a relevant player on international scene. Let me be a little bit more specific reason why we have gathered here today. So I'm very honored to participate in the signing of this contract with the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, which will signal the commencement of the INTRA-ACP, means African, Caribbean, Pacific group of countries, agriculture policy project. This project is worth 8.6 million euros and is to be implemented over the next 45 months. I mean, originally it was supposed to be 48, but we had some preparatory period, which might be felt time to time more and more difficult. But believe us that reflecting the and efficiency of the spending worldwide from ever-growing number of member states, which are now 27 and soon will be 28, demands from ever-growing political power of the European Parliament, and demands from the Court of Auditors of the European institutions really lead us to rather think and reconfirm the things twice than to be badly surprised in the future. And I hope this is the track that we have recently set with all the missions we have had from Europe, and we are working very well jointly on this. It is meant, this project, to increase the capability of regional agriculture development organizations within the Caribbean in order to address the development needs of small holders. Small and medium size, it's very important to mention. This is a partnership that has tremendous significance for a number of our stakeholders. In the CARIFORUM region, we are all aware of the challenges we face from climate change, natural disasters, high food prices, small internal markets, and reliability on a few export commodities. The promotion and development of smallholder agriculture will allow for closer integration into local, national, regional, and where appropriate, global markets. This, we expect, will result in diversified production and sustainable food security, which will reduce the strain on consumers caused by the soaring food prices and assist agricultural exporters in dealing with the challenges posed by the international health standards. Europe could be sometimes fortress when it comes to phytosanitary, etc. And one of the reasons when we are doing this is precisely to meet these international health and similar standards. IICA, which is the acronym for the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, was selected to implement this project on behalf of the CARIFORUM countries, since it's recognized as one of the premier organizations involved in agriculture, both at the technical and community levels. In addition, based on an institutional assessment, we are assured that IICA's rules and procedures allow the EU to confidently disburse or transfer the funds, knowing that they will be well managed. It should be noted that while IICA is the signatory to this contribution agreement, the CARICOM Secretariat and CARDI will also be major actors responsible for technical guidance and implementation. When I say CARDI, I mean Caribbean Agriculture Research and Development Institute. There are also a number of other institutions and stakeholder associations and networks that will be involved in this process. These include the Ministries of Agriculture, welcome, particularly Mr. Minister, Tertiary Agricultural Educational Institution within CARIFORUM, CAFAN or Caribbean Farmers Network, which will be the primary partner for engagement with the small farmer stakeholders, Junta Agroempresarial Dominicana, so the Spanish word for the Dominican Republic, I could at least read it in the language, and Caribbean Agribusiness Association, CABA, as well as active national agribusinesses associations, relevant local authorities, and non-governmental organizations. Despite the challenges that some countries in the European Union are facing, the EU is still the biggest donor of development assistance around the world, providing more than 60% of the total development assistance, and remains committed, I want to underline this, to achieving the Millennium Development Goals in the developing world. The European Union, for its part, firmly believes that regional cooperation can help address the challenges of globalization and mitigate limitations of small-sized and industrial states. To this end, the EU supports the 16 CARIFORUM states in enhancing human and social development, sustainable economic diversification, poverty eradication, and regional integration. In addition to the bilateral country assistance for each one of the CARIFORUM countries, the EU has committed over 206 million euros during the period of 2007 and 2013, which we can reflect as combination of the 9th, which was 41.5 million, and 10th, which was 165 million euros of the EDF Caribbean Regional Integration Program allocations to finance precisely regional programs. Regional projects are by nature challenging since they usually involve many organizations, interests and priorities. While this project took some time to complete at the design stage, I am assured that the length of time utilized upfront will pay big dividends in the process of implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all aware that given the state of the economies of both EU and CARIFORUM countries, it cannot be business as usual. We owe it both to the EU taxpayers and CARIFORUM citizens to demand and expect the best from this initiative. I therefore pledge the full commitment of the staff of my delegation to do our part, and we will expect that all the stakeholders will do the same. At the end of this project, we are expecting to see improvements in the policy regimes and incentive schemes for smallholders in food security at regional, national and local levels, and in the capacity of regional agricultural institutions. With this said, I want to take this opportunity to thank all those who have been and will continue to be involved in the preparation and implementation of this project. Special mention must be made to our colleague, partner, sister delegation to Trinidad and Tobago, staff of IICA, CARDI and CARICOM Secretariat, and all other interest groups. So here is where my official speech written ends, but let me give some remarks which I have prepared as I have felt through the year and a half in the region the reflection of agriculture. I think that the potential here is tremendous. And not only that, I'm not talking about Guyana. Recently, I'm very pleased to see the cooperation with the government of Trinidad and Tobago, because this might be the sign of how the relatively large countries of the Caribbean community could complement with constraints of territories and agriculture land on the islands like Trinidad and Tobago is. And I hope that breadbasket of the Caribbean will gain soon its name back, as I see, and I'm very pleased, Mr. President, that Georgetown as a garden city will have it also back, because the across political spectra agreement has been reached, so I'm very pleased last night. Congratulations, Mr. President. I had the luck to be in a CARIFORUM EU political dialogue in Dominica, which is the home country of Mr. Secretary General, and I have seen probably the most developed smallholders agriculture sector when I compare all the countries I've been to in the Caribbean. I have seen really interesting lines of attractive products being in jams, juices, dry foods, smoked fish, etc., etc. So even in these scales economies, it's possible to do it, and the quality is undisputable. Now I hope that this program will really help to bring it to the awareness of European and world consumers. And I think that the light is closer at the end of the tunnel, because with the growing purchasing power in the most growing economies of the world today, which are the famous BRICS, the middle class, the purchase power of the middle class multiplies by millions in countries like China or India, and these people want to have on their tables exotic fruits, some of the excellent seafood produced by this country and the region, etc., etc., as well as they are starting to travel, which creates the growing demands on supplies of the hotel chains, etc., in the region. So I hope that this will mean guarantee for the local businessmen to which this program is targeted to multiply the production also. In this world, I remember when I bought my first mobile phone, it was like for 2 or 3 years, the second was for the half of it, the third one is whatsoever. Last night it was Samsung 4 launched in New York, but I think that we are still with potato 1, or rice 1, and vegetable 1. And when we have to make really the dilemma, I don't care if it's Samsung 27 or iPhone 17, but I will be hungry and I need to eat. And with the combination of the multiplying population in the world, I think that I would invest my money to agriculture rather to electronics. This is how I see the things. It might be short-term money, but the long-term perspective and market guarantee is definitely with that. Mr. President, I'm very honored that you are here, but I would not dare to invite you for our functions in your overcharge program as the head of this beautiful country. But there is a special profile of yours, which is the Minister of Agriculture, superior level Mr. Minister, with all the respect, of the quasi-cabinet of CARICOM. And we are really glad that you can be here in this capacity, because CARICOM, until it will have ceded power to what will be in the future Caribbean Commission needs more member states, ministers or quasi-ministers in this level. So really I'm glad that you are here. To finish with, I wanted to say like something that I call internally double R. I would say probably the best rice in the world and probably the best rum in the world in this beautiful country. Thank you very much for your attention.
He is the 7th Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, and he was formerly Assistant Secretary General for Trade and Economic Integration at the CARICOM Secretariat. Prior to that, he served with distinction at senior management levels in the public service of Dominica for over 18 years. He too has a very distinguished CV, and I know that his touch has been felt throughout the length and breadth of CARICOM. I'd now like to call to the podium His Excellency, Ambassador.
Technical, financial, and project implementation principles that will guide the relationship between the project's principal implementing agency, IECA, and the European Commission. The Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, and the CARICOM Secretariat are implementing partners along with IECA. This program exemplifies the strength of the partnership between IECA, and it also reflects the continued commitment of the European Union to the ongoing development of our region. CARIFORUM, in its capacity as the ultimate beneficiary of the program, has signed with IECA a memorandum of understanding which will complement efforts aimed at getting the best results out of this program. The MOU sets out the conditions under which IECA has agreed to implement the program on our behalf. The implementation of this vital program comes at a time of significant challenges for the Caribbean in general, and the 16 states of CARIFORUM in particular. It is a time when our states have no choice but to improve their competitiveness to achieving greater economic viability and sustainability. That competitiveness will put us in good stead as we seek to take advantage of the Economic Partnership Agreement with the European Union. The essence of the program's intervention is informed by the results of a series of consultations with key players in the agricultural sector in CARIFORUM. These included, and we heard a whole list of them, but I still want to highlight some: senior public and private sector, regional agriculture sector stakeholders. And I want to single out a few others. CAFAN, the Caribbean Farmers Network, which is a body of smallholders that has made its mark on our region in assisting small farmers, in organizing them, and in bringing services to them. I just want to compliment CAFAN, who has been a great partner with us in this community. I also want to recognize the Caribbean Network of Rural Women Producers, CANROP, again another partner in developing our agriculture sector in the community. And the Caribbean Forum for Youth in Agriculture, our youth, and we know that our youth are critical in all of this. But there were also institutions that assisted us in getting this program off the ground. And we also consulted with the Forest and Agricultural Resources Research Institute of the Dominican Republic. Forgive me, I don't know the Spanish like you, Ambassador. CARDI, of course, had a major input into the design of the program, IECA itself. And we must not forget our ongoing partnership with the FAO and their input into designing the program as well. It's a tripartite relationship that we have between CARICOM, CARIFORUM, IECA, and FAO. The content of the program has also been informed by the agriculture sector development issues of CARICOM's Leyden-Dal Declaration and the JAVU Initiative on the 9 key binding constraints to agriculture development, as well as the key objectives of the sector as outlined in the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The program's design also benefited from several CARICOM policy instruments, including the Community Agriculture Policy, the Regional Food and Nutrition Security Policy and Action Plan, the Common Fisheries Policy, the Agribusiness Strategy, the Draft Community Industrial Policy, and the Draft Biotechnology Policy. I mention those because sometimes we think that these policy instruments are prepared and they go on a shelf, that they only have mechanical value. These instruments inform programs, and it's through these instruments and through these studies and through these pieces of work that we're then able to carry the work forward and partner with institutions such as the European Union to get them going, so they don't only have archival value. I also want to recognize that both the European Union and the FAO greatly assisted in funding and providing support for these instruments to be developed. Some of them under the 90 years. The critical role that the FAO played in the food and nutrition security policy, which we have also adopted. The program is specifically designed to further strengthen policy regimes and incentive schemes for smallholders across the region. And this is very important because sometimes we tend to forget that a significant food in our region is by smallholders. And you heard of the quality that Ambassador Popescu mentioned, and it permeates throughout our region. It will also improve food security, also developing the national plans. A number of them have done it. And it is through instruments like this that we get to actually implement some of the activities under the Food and Nutrition Security Plan. So it will also improve the food security by increasing production and productivity of selected commercially and nutritionally valuable agricultural produce. It is intended to deepen the sector's technological and organizational capability and contribute to the further enhancement of regional sectoral institutional capacity. In other words, the Caribbean component of the INTRA-ACP agriculture program aims to boost the economic growth potential and capacities of smallholders in the agriculture sector while increasing its contribution to regional economic growth and development. It is also important to note that there is a specific bias to women and youth, and I have mentioned that, and I have a personal bias towards women and youth, as these groups have been identified as important to the sustainability of the sector. Although the contribution agreement does not cover this issue, the interregional component of the overall ACP program is of significant interest to us in CARIFORUM. It promotes cooperation in agriculture between the Caribbean and the Pacific region. The potential areas of cooperation include bananas and coconuts, just to mention two cash crops of economic significance to our region. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, colleagues, the CARICOM Secretariat will remain actively and dutifully engaged in providing its dedicated support to implementation activities under this 10th EDF Intra-ACP Agriculture Policy Program during the program's 4-year cycle. We look forward to successful implementation. And in closing, I would like to thank the European Union and ICA, as well as the other stakeholders for their assistance in building this most important sector of our region. Thank you.
Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture on January 7, 2008. He has over 25 years of experience in the field of agriculture at both the national and regional levels in the Caribbean region. He's also an agricultural economist and has held several key positions in multinational agencies in the region. Mr. Rollins is someone who exhibits a level of dedication to agriculture and moving forward that I've always been impressed with. I need to call you to the podium to make
from the Secretary of Ministry of Agriculture, His Excellency Mr. Ronald Ramatar, the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, the Honorable Dr. Leslie Ramsamy, Minister of Agriculture, His Excellency Ambassador Robert Kopecki, the Ambassador and Head of Delegation of the European Union, His Excellency Ambassador Erwin LaRocque, Secretary General of CARICOM. I also want to recognize the representatives of FAO, Dr. Bishop Paul, the ECO representative, Mr. Wilmot Garnett, the representative of CARDI, Mr. Morris Wilson, and staff of the various institutions, the European Union, ECA, CARICOM, CARIFORUM, members of the media. A pleasant good morning to all. It is indeed a distinct honor and privilege for me to be afforded this opportunity to deliver remarks on this, the occasion of the signing of this most significant contribution agreement between the European Union and the Inter-American Institute. In so doing, I first wish to convey greetings on behalf of our Director General, Dr. Victor Villalobos, who regrettably, due to prior commitments, could not be here with us this morning, and has asked that I extend best wishes to all present on this special occasion. I also wish to bring apologies on behalf of the Director of Management and Regional Integration, Mr. Diego Montenegro, who actually was traveling from Miami last night, but the flight was diverted to Puerto Rico due to a medical emergency. Unfortunately, a passenger passed away on arrival in Puerto Rico, and therefore he couldn't make it in time. The Caribbean is indeed a region, and you've heard this, of small producers in agriculture. On this occasion, it's with great pleasure that we are here to formally initiate the EU-funded program, which is designed specifically to address the developmental needs of the numerous small farmers and small processors in our CARIFORUM countries. An institutional environment, appropriate research, technology and innovation, and market development, all with a focus on small producers. Secondly, it is unique in that it seeks to build on and requires close institutional partnerships, and for the first time has created the conditions for formal and direct tripartite partnership between ICA and regional institutions of CARDI and the CARICOM Secretariat. This approach also fosters an environment to extend the partnership strategically to other public agencies, private sector organizations, including farmers' networks, and other international and regional development partners, such as the Food and Agriculture Organization, the University of the West Indies, and others. The Caribbean Agriculture Program is ultimately aimed at ensuring that small producers in CARIFORUM countries are effectively integrated into national, regional, and international agri-food markets. However, the program also recognizes the need to strengthen the institutional environment that supports the agricultural development process, and in this regard, adds value to the regional level through actions aimed at enhancing capacity to implement regional initiatives such as the Regional Food and Nutrition Security Policy and Plan of Action, the Caribbean Community Agricultural Policy, the JAGDO Initiative, as well as other regional programs. There are indeed great expectations on the part of many persons as a result of this program. There are expectations among the institutions charged with guidance implementation, ICA, CARDI, CARICOM Secretariat, who must seek to ensure equity in all partnerships and representations, performance and sustainability of all actions, and importantly, coordination and coherence at the regional level towards an integrated and stronger framework for development actions in agriculture. There are also great expectations among our CARIFORUM countries, who have a key role to play in ensuring that the actions add value to their priority development needs, and in grounding these actions so that genuine benefits accrue to the ultimate beneficiaries, the small producers. There are also great expectations for the EU itself, which has been a long-standing and faithful partner to the Caribbean, and given the challenging global economic times, remains committed to the region, providing support through this new program. But perhaps the greatest expectations of all will be found among the target beneficiaries, our small producers, who, as a result of this Caribbean action, will expect to be placed in a more favorable position to improve productivity and their own livelihoods. We at ICA are extremely pleased not only to be part of this action, but have to be asked by the European Union to execute this action on behalf of the agriculture stakeholders in CARIFORUM, and working with our partners CARDI and the CARICOM Secretariat. ICA offers the partners a number of qualities and benefits which we bring to this process. First, our diverse technical capacity and an extensive network in all technical areas under the program, our presence on the ground in all participating CARIFORUM countries, and our reach and relations with community-based and farmer-based organizations and the private sector, our wealth of experience and strong relations with other international agricultural development partners, and importantly, our well-established institutional norms and procedures to support efficient implementation. We anticipate that with full cooperation and collaboration of all parties, this Caribbean Action Program made possible under this novel partnership with the European Union, ICA, CARIFORUM, CARICOM Secretariat, will deliver and yield benefits to all stakeholders, and in particular to the numerous small producers in CARIFORUM. We commit ourselves as an institution towards achieving the effective and efficient implementation of this program, and we look forward to working with all the implementing partners, collaborators and stakeholders in the true spirit of collaboration and cooperation to advance this process for the benefit of the Caribbean as a whole. ICA stands ready to work with everyone in supporting this program, and we look forward to moving quickly following the signature of this program to start with the implementation so that we can start to realize the benefits which we all desire. Thank you very much for your attention.
Experts are saying that food could be the cause of other various type of conflicts in the future, and therefore it is extremely important that we start paying very close attention to this. And because of that, agriculture is taking on a growing, even a greater importance in our time. It has always been important, but it is now becoming even more important in our day. Largely because the production of food is competing with many other things, the competition for land, in land development, for the production of biofuel, because of the price of fuel, price of going up, energy going up, and the importance of energy for development. So production of food is competing with several other interests, and it is, as I said, becoming extremely important in our times. In our region, we have great capacity, but up to now I believe that they are heavily underutilized capacity that we have, that we can make a greater contribution to our own food security and at the same time make a contribution to the food security of the world and allow us to have a better quality of life in our region. Some of the figures that I have seen are really startling when you take into consideration that most developing countries spend per capita about $66 in food. In the Caribbean, we spend about per capita about $500 on food. We import, our food importation bill is huge, between 3 and 4 billion. Am I right? 4 billion United States dollars, and therefore those figures show us, and in every one of our countries in our region, that we have a huge market that we can, if we can satisfy them, we will be creating for our farmers a really good life and for society. We can use money now that we import food with, which we can earn this money here to do other things that place a lot of demands on us in the development of our own societies. So obviously we have a lot of room for the development in our societies, that we can do much more. I want also to recognize the role that the European Union has been playing in assisting the Caribbean and the ACP countries. And you know, I have during my work with the ACP, the EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly, it afforded me the opportunity of really broadening my views and my horizons, because it offered me the chance of visiting many countries in different continents, and to give us a broader perspective of what is possible and what is not possible. And therefore, they work with the CARIFORUM countries and with the ACP countries has been extremely important in helping to people in various countries to improve their food security and improve the quality of life. Of course, we always have quarrels, but that is natural, and that is part of the whole question of cooperation. We don't always agree with a lot of things, but the main thing is that we resolve them and move forward in doing our activities. So I am extremely pleased this morning to be able to stand here, because I think that our region really has great potential in this regard. It can create an enormous amount of jobs for our people, not only directly in agriculture in one way, but also in agro-industries, create other jobs for people in every area, in transportation, in many, many other areas that the spin-off are really, really great. What we have to do is our views of agriculture must change in the sense that we have to educate our farmers more, to use new techniques, different type of techniques, and because I think part of the problem that we face in our region is the image that a farmer presents to the society as being poor, uneducated, working with their hands very hard and so forth. Nothing is wrong with working with their hands. Those who don't work with their hands go running in the park to try to get the same benefits. But they work, so that image has to change of our farmers, and therefore other sections. That's why I was happy to hear the linking with other institutions, universities, so that we can use the latest in science and technology to apply that to agriculture, and our farmers too can benefit from having a higher quality of education and do things much better than they did in the past. I therefore want again to repeat how happy I am to be here this morning to witness this, because I think that this has enormous benefits, possibilities, and opportunities for our region as a whole. Thank you very much for your attention.
We now have the signing of the contribution agreement, and the signing will be done by His Excellency Mr. Robert Kopesky, Ambassador, Delegation of the Union.
Designed to try to take weapons off the streets with the idea of reducing crime. But the opposition seems to be taking their own personal position and putting it ahead of our country's interests. I think it's really, really sad. Because our people demand of us to be responsible, and to me this is one of the most irresponsible acts that I've seen.